So it seems once again we get to discuss old Joey, old former President Biden. He is continuing to put himself out in the public. It seems like he's probably going to break his record of public appearances after he is president in juxtaposition to when he was president. But we get the grace of his wonderful speaking and mental acuity on The View, the wonderful place to showcase these things as he continues to gaslight the American people, fully supported by those women on The View and his wife, Jill.
Democratic sources that claim in your final year there was a dramatic decline in your cognitive abilities in the final year of your presidency. What is your response to these allegations, or are these sources wrong?
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that. Number one. Number two, think of what we're left with. We're left with a circumstance where we had an insurrection when I started. Not since the Civil War. We had a circumstance where we were in a position that the pandemic, because of the incompetence of the last outfit, end up over 1 million people dying. And we're also in a situation where we found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time. And so we went to work, and we got it done. And one of the things
Alyssa, one of the things I think is that.
So this is first of all, him saying there's no validity to their claims of his cognitive decline is incorrect. There are tons of minutes of footage. Everyone just wants to reference the debate with Trump like that's the first time. Oh my God, it's the first time we've noticed Joe Biden isn't tip-top shape, isn't cogent, like Joe Scarborough said, and if you had a problem with it, F you, It's more gaslighting. The Democrats have not learned. They refuse to learn from their mistakes. It's still Trump, bad. Look what he's done. Look what he's doing. And don't get me wrong, there are things he needs to be called out on 100%. I'm fully behind checks and balances for anyone, especially the President of the United States. But they all do ridiculous things, all of them. Joe Biden by far is the worst out of all of them thus far, in my time frame, anyways. But the main problem that I have with this, because everyone already knows that Biden has mental acuity issues. He has memory lapses, horribly so. They try to say Trump does too, and he's the same, and what's everyone talking about? And Trump's the one with the mental decline and the cognitive abilities, diminishing. That's ridiculous. Does he repeat himself constantly? Yes, he does. He gets stuck on a loop. And would he have memory loss issues? Well, I'm sure he does, but not on the level that Biden does. Not even close. It doesn't even hold a candle. The thing that they're doing right now, because the Democratic Party is in shambles, they're split. You've got analysts coming out and suggesting that they just completely divide the party, because you have the AOCs and the Jasmine Crockett's, you have the Chuck Schumers and the Nancy Pelosi's. You've got the neoliberal progressive side of the Democratic world caucus, and then you've got the old world that are still trying to hold on and cling on to their power in the old ways, but still thread the needle as far as the progressive side goes, because they don't want lose their base, and they don't want to be overran by the AOCs and the Jasmine Crockett's. And it's all fake. It's all false. That is why they lost this presidential election, because they do nothing but lie. They gaslight constantly. Joe Biden is still doing it. And him keeping track of his time, because what that boils down to, because no one cares how long he talks on that stage. No one on The View cares how long Joe Biden talks. His wife does. His, as they say, handlers do. Because what they're trying to do now, with them parading Kamala Harris out and now Joe Biden out, they're trying to project this false narrative of solidarity, that they're starting to reel it back in and starting to be, cohesive. And you'll see later when he's talking about Kamala on this episode that it's a big dog and pony show is all it is. And it's by design, obviously. Both sides, no matter how, even if they fumble real bad and they don't hit their mark, everything's by design. Everything is. Like I spoke in my last video with Trump sending Abrego Garcia to CCOT. Oh, it was an error on our part, clerical error or administrative error or whatever. No, it wasn't. He did that on purpose. There was no error. It was on purpose. And I stated why in my last video. This is on purpose. They're trying to paint this ridiculously false narrative like they always do. And that is exactly why Kamala lost the election. Because all their entire world, as much as they like to say Trump is a threat to democracy and an existential threat, and they do a lot of projection because they're a threat to their own democracy. They have usurped democracy inside their party multiple times, especially in regards to Joe, to former President Biden. So they were so sore and so sour in the beginning after they lost the election. Joe didn't think Kamala could win it, period. That's why he decided to stay in, because he didn't think that she could beat Trump. He thought he's the only one that could. No one was going to beat Trump. They done burned their bridges. They done shot their load with the crap they pulled, trying to make Trump out to look like Hitler, like he's just going to slaughter millions. With their fear-mongering, gaslighting, ridiculous crap.
The people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us. And they didn't see how hard Joe worked every single day. I mean, he'd get up, he'd put in a full day, and then at night I'd be in bed, reading my book, and he was still on the phone reading his briefings, working with staff. I mean, it was nonstop. It's the White House. Being president is not like a job. It's a lifestyle. It's a life that you live.
I'll get back to Joe and The View again here in just a second. But this next clip that I'm going to play you, the reason why I'm putting this in here is I want you to see, because like I was telling you, the whole purpose of this is for them to create this false narrative that things are starting to coalesce. Old Joe and Kamala are just the greatest of friends and absolute support of one another. You can see in this interview with Kamala, it's an old interview where she's talking about Biden. She is really struggling. She is struggling to get the answers out to the questions she's being asked in regards to Joe Biden, and it is straight up lying. There's no other way to slice it. No other phrasing that's more accurate. It's straight up lying. And that's been her problem. And there continues to be the Democratic caucus's problem is all the gaslighting, all the lying and to what end, I don't know. apart from, as they keep saying, and the younger cast of the Democratic Party are saying that they need to stop it, stop just hammering people with how bad Trump is, and come up with something substantive that is viable for the American people, like the Democratic Party used to be, like they used to be, and they're not anymore. Now it's a joke. It's a joke. But you just watch.
But the reason that you are at the top of the ticket is because he dropped out of this race. And so I want to ask you, and it was largely because of that debate performance back in June. You defended him in the days before and in the days after as you were campaigning for another 4 years for President Biden. Can you say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again, repeatedly in that time?
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president.
You never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates. He is absolutely.
But that's the reason why you're here, and he's not running for the top of the ticket.
Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why.
It's a judgment question. That's why I ask. Can the American people trust you in these moments, even when it's maybe uncomfortable for Americans to level with Americans in that way? So that's why I ask. And it sounds like what you're saying is you feel like you never saw anything like that from President Biden.
I speak with not only sincerity, but with a real firsthand account of watching him do this work. I have no reluctance.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Y'all, you can't deny. I mean, I guess you can, but there's no way you can do it with a straight face and say that woman was not lying in that interview. Like that was horrible. That was horrible. Oh my goodness. Anyways. I mean, you can't. One thing you can honestly look forward to is lots of entertainment. There's lots of entertainment coming out of Washington. There's some sadness too. Don't get me wrong. There's some sadness and some worrisome things, obviously. But and that's how I had to look at the last 4 years, anyways, with the Biden regime and all their crookedness, and just like I said, I have a dark sense of humor, and I'm gonna make a little jokey joke. A lot of the times when people don't think there's something funny, I'm gonna find something funny in it. Call it coping mechanism. I don't know. Either way, that she was straight OSBS in that interview. And anyways, let's get back to Joe and the ladies of the View. Minus Jill for some reason. I don't know where she went off to, but anyways, there we go.
Election night came, and it was like 2016 all over again. Yeah. So why do you think the vice president lost, and were you surprised?
I wasn't surprised, not because I didn't think the vice president was the most qualified person to be president. She is. She's qualified to be president of the United States of America. Right. But I was surprised. I wasn't surprised because they went the route of the sexist route, the whole route. I mean, this is a woman. She's this. She's that. I mean, it really. I've never seen quite as successful and a consistent campaign undercutting the notion that a woman couldn't lead the country, and a woman of mixed race. Yeah. And they played that to a fairly well. In addition to that, one of the things happened, if you notice, and I'm going to be shorter, okay? I promise. Okay. She said, "Don't be Joe Biden. Be short."
I said that to him.
Anyway, make a long story short, all kidding aside, think about it. Liberal democracies all across America, all across the world lost last time. Yeah. All across America. I think we underestimate the phenomenal negative impact that COVID had and the pandemic had on people, on attitudes, on optimism, on a whole range of things. So I was very disappointed And but I wasn't surprised. The only thing that surprised me is the excess to which they've gone in some of the attacks they've made.
Yeah. Well, when was the last time you spoke with the vice president, and has she talked to you about what she wants to do next? Sought any advice? Maybe governor?
Yesterday, I talk to her frequently. We stay in touch, number one. Number two, she's sought my opinion. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
What to wear to the Met Gala.
That's exactly right. No, but all kidding aside, she's got a difficult decision to make about what she's going to do. Yeah. I hope she stays fully engaged. I think she's first rate. But we have a lot of really good candidates as well. So I'm optimistic. I'm not pessimistic about the future.
You know, he blames, he's following suit with what they have been saying since Kamala lost the election. It was due to bigotry. That the emphasis, because she was a woman, and she's a woman of color and all this stuff, they downplayed it. The Republicans supposedly downplayed it. And, a bunch of hateful, bigoted people didn't vote for her. They voted for Trump. It's more gaslighting. It's more lack of accountability, that she is a horrible option as a president, worse than Trump was. That's what the election literally says. Joe, not capable of being a president, should have never been president after his first year. But the only option they had was Kamala Harris, which didn't work. So they had to continue to push Joe as much as they could and medicate him as much as they could and send him on vacations and give him tons of ice cream and not do so many public appearances until everyone started calling him out, even the left, even the legacy media. What it boils down to is this, in my opinion. This is the reason why, once again, I'm reiterating why I did this video. I'm sick of the crap. I'm sick of the lying, the lack of true desire to want to help America, all because they hate Trump. That their main driver is to try to get everyone to turn against Donald Trump. That's all they've got. That's all they have. Now they're parading Biden out here. And, I'm sure it's at his behest anyways, because the way they did him when they pretty much, has been stated multiple times, a total coup against him. So they could plug and play Harris in that seat and then burn that one to the ground. And they're continuing to do so. But like I said earlier, it's because the Democratic Party is so fractured and in shambles. They're trying to bring these two out more often now and try to show some kind of stability and some kind of solidarity and cohesive grouping of their party, because you have the old world Dems that aren't really old world in their ways anymore. They're also progressives. And then the super uber progressives battling it out. So this is them trying to fix that miserably. I miss the days when we had, valid options on either side of the political aisle. And it wasn't, everyone's an impending, doom bringer, a harbinger of death. Or just a bunch of liars, a bunch of hypocrites and liars. By all means, please leave your comments. I enjoy them and help me grow this channel. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.